Hello and welcome to Football Friday here at Bay TV, coming from the very heart of Liverpool. Season's end is upon us, and this self-evidently will be the last show. Won't stop my two guests, Graeme and David Fairclough, being as erudite and knowledgeable as ever. So, gentlemen, the name on everybody's lips this week is a name I'd not even heard of until this week. A.D. Ward is the agent for one Raheem Sterling, and he's caused quite a stir, hasn't he, David?
He has. This has been it's turned into an unsavoury saga now. I think the fact that Sterling's name has been in the paper for most of the wrong reasons for quite a while now. It's something he shouldn't have allowed perhaps to have really gone on as long as it has. And you'd have perhaps thought that the agent might have picked up the vibe and stayed sort of low key and out of harm's way, but it continues to hog the back pages.
For those of you who don't know, the agent was, I think, captured on tape recorder is the best way to put it, stating categorically that Sterling would not sign a new deal at Liverpool, even if he was offered 900 grand a week. I find that hard to believe personally. He's now moving back from that statement, saying he was stitched up by the media, etc., etc. But irrespective of that, the stance is there. Raheem Sterling wants to leave Liverpool. The problem being, Graeme, he's still got 2 years left on his current deal.
Well, he has, and it's how Liverpool want to play it. You know, Liverpool can dig their heels in and just say, listen, as Brendan Rodgers has said, you're our player and you're not going anywhere. We'll decide when you go. But when it gets to this stage, you know, the cancelled talks were supposed to be today with his agent. It looks as if he's going out the door. I think everybody's got a view of it, you know, but my view is that a while back then they said, listen, we ain't going to discuss anything until the summer. When the season's finished, we'll sit down. For whatever reasons, it's reared its ugly head again. It's come back into the headlines, people saying different things. But the outcome of this for me is that Raheem Sterling, I'd be really, really, really surprised if Raheem Sterling starts the season at Liverpool next year.
I mean, the problem Liverpool have got, David, is if they decide to dig their heels in and say, you're contracted for 2 more years, Raheem Sterling may lose it. We've seen this before with players who want away and their performance level drops, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's not on the biggest of contracts. So from a financial point of view, you wonder whether or not Liverpool would be actually losing that much. From what we gather, John Henry is prepared to dig his heels in and make it difficult. They did it initially with Suarez a couple of years ago. But if the write-off comes in for Sterling, then surely it will also appeal to Liverpool, having somebody who's maybe looking a little bit sort of you know, ready to fly the nest. But having said that, I was at the Liverpool Awards night you know, this week, and there didn't seem to be any undue, you know, problem. He was mixing with the lads and all that type of stuff. His front was quite normal. You know, he didn't look sheepish, shy to be there in any way. So it does remain to be seen. But I think it's gone very. There's, you know, I say, an unsavoury element about it. You know, you don't want the agent getting involved in arguments with the Liverpool hierarchy.
So I mean, I agree. I think the agent's not handled this very well, irrespective of whether the comments he made were on the record or off. But conversely, I don't think Liverpool have handled the Sterling situation very well, Graeme.
I think, you know, from an outside point of view, you look at the situation with Steven Gerrard, look at the situation now with Raheem Sterling, and there's something not working right there. You know, because again, there's been a breakdown in communication between both parties, with the player and the transfer committee, whatever you want to say. But I don't think Liverpool have painted themselves in any glory as well. Listen, at the end of the day, the boy is Liverpool's player. They can decide whether he wants to go or not. But the boy looks as if he's made his mind up that he wants to go back to London or wherever. People say, well, if he goes to Chelsea or Manchester City, will he play there? Only he can make that decision. Only he can decide whether he plays there or not, because it's up to him and his form. You know, so at this moment in time, you know, Liverpool fans will be disappointed the way it's been handled. That doesn't really happen to Liverpool over the years. People have always wanted to stay and try and fight for trophies. But he's looked at it now from his own personal point of view and thought, I might need to move somewhere else. So I don't think we should castigate the boy, but I agree with you at times it looked a little bit unsavoury from the agent's point of view.
You've just made a point there which I'd actually written down, which is that at one point for many years, any player in the world would have walked across broken glass to play for Liverpool Football Club. And traditionally, it was usually the end, not the end of a player's career, but Liverpool only let players leave when they thought they'd got the best out of them. Now the reverse seems to be happening in a way that, you know, a young player, obviously talented, has decided that Liverpool's not big enough for him.
Yeah, well, in many people's eyes, certainly Liverpool fans' eyes, they think of Liverpool as being a massive and huge club, but I think we have to admit that we've fallen slightly off the pace now, and the likes of City and Chelsea, Arsenal even, to hold a bigger sort of appeal to certain players, and Liverpool have to fight hard now to draw players in, to keep them, whereas once upon a time, as we know, Liverpool was the first port of call. That was everybody's main ambition, maybe, to get to Liverpool. So we have to accept that things have changed, and obviously Liverpool's presence in Champions League year after year has sort of had an effect on all that.
And as Graeme said there, that there was a misconception that Sterling was a local lad, but he's from London, isn't he? And, you know, a lot of people want to go back to familiar territory.
Listen, you want to win trophies, and as David says quite right, everybody wants to join Liverpool because Liverpool were winning trophies right, left and centre, and David's time in the 80s as well, and that was the club to go to. Now, you can look at it now and say that players just want to go because they're getting more money in their wage packet. I still think players want to go and be involved in the Champions League, you know, year in, year out, want to be involved in the race for the title. Listen, Liverpool came very, very close last year. If they probably had the same sort of season this season, you know, would Sterling be thinking, you know, do I want to go away from Liverpool? So, you know, he's probably looked at everything that's happened, and he's probably head's been turned by maybe approaches made, you know, behind the scenes for some of the clubs, Manchester City, Chelsea's this work. Yeah,
everybody knows how it works. He'll know where he's going, won't he?
Definitely, you think so. So he's been made aware that there's interest from other clubs, and he's probably had to weigh all that up. Although he said he'd wait to the summer, but he's had that in the back of his mind. For me, he knows that, you know, there's clubs out there who are willing to take him on, and maybe offer him the chance of playing Champions League football year in, year out, something that Liverpool can't do at this moment.
I mean, they're talking 40, 50 million pounds, David. Is he worth that amount? Is he that good?
No, for me, if Liverpool had an offer of 40 to 50 million pound, I'd snap somebody's hands off, to be honest with you, because he's unconvincing at times. I've heard one or two people get really too overexcited about Raheem Sterling, I think, in recent weeks and days. You know, he's not a fantastic footballer. He's talented, he's got potential. He hasn't achieved much. I mean, he's played in one semi-final in his career, and for him to be you know, if they are shouting the odds, then it's a little bit premature, really. I mean, you can't sort of knock his effort, his enthusiasm, his passion, but his end product is very much questionable, and for that, he still remains a player, you know, with things to, you know, a lot of things to improve on.
Potential. It's potential, and you know, how much do you pay for potential? You know, you look at.
I mean, we've now reached a stage in modern football where somebody will pay £40 million for potential.
Well, as you say, if you're looking at it, and Liverpool put a price on them. People talk about Everton as well, and John Stones and Ross Barkley. How much would you take for them? Liverpool have a price, and they'll stick to it, and they'll say, "This is what we want." You know, whoever comes, this is what you've got to get up to, and if you don't, we don't need to sell them. No, so it's an interesting Liverpool. For me, in this situation, I've got the upper hand. It's their decision. He's signed for Liverpool for 2 more years, so they can make.
I mean, John Henry might dig his heels in and say, "You stay if you won't play first team football. You sit on the sidelines."
Yeah, and that seems to be the stance at the moment. Liverpool will be very, very tough. They'll not make it easy.
I mean, Brendan Rodgers will fly out to the States to meet the owners very shortly. Do you expect him to emerge from that all smiles, or emerge from it at all?
I think the aim of every football club should be to improve on season, the season previous. Liverpool have definitely underachieved this year. I mean, one or two people have sort of said, well, given the financial clouds and one thing or another position that they have been in, that fifth was a good result. It's not really. The Champions League position had to be the priority for Liverpool, and in that sense, I think you have to say it's been a poor season, and it could have quite easily got into the top 4 places because United haven't been that impressive or consistent, really.
Last weekend, just briefly. It's a familiar story. You arrange a party, you invite the guests, you get the cakes in. Steven Gerrard, big farewell. Liverpool get battered at home by Crystal Palace. Not quite what we had in mind, was it really?
No.
It wasn't going to be never going to be an easy game, was it? But again,
There's so much emotion and passion attached to last weekend. You didn't know whether or not you were attending a funeral or a wedding last weekend. The atmosphere was very, very strange. Great in many ways, but so sad that it was the end of an era. And for Stevie to actually have really produced one of his all-time classic performances was always going to ask an awful lot. You know, there was so much emotion around, and you could see a tear in his eye in the lead up to it, I'm sure, with his girls on the pitch and everything. It was never ever going to be easy for him to go out on a real high.
And it's still a decision they'll regret, you feel?
Definitely. But I mean, I'm coming more around to the thought that, you know, at least it's great to be leaving a situation with people wanting more, rather than sort of saying, you know, overstaying your welcome and people then sort of slating your week in and week out and forget about all the fantastic things he's done. Been so many fantastic tributes over the last week. You know, what Steven Gerrard has meant to Liverpool has been amazing. So he goes on a high, and people do want more. So, and that's probably not a bad thing to be thinking of as he leaves.
Right, we'll be back after this short break when we'll start our review of the season from a blue and a red perspective. See you shortly. Hello and welcome back. I'm joined as usual by Graeme and David Fairclough. The international squads were announced this week. Firstly, the squad for the under-21 tournament this summer, and Ross Barkley's not in it. Now, I think, personally, it's nothing to do with me, but I think it would have been good for him to have gone to that tournament.
I think so as well. I think, you know, it's more experience. I don't think he's been a regular for Everton, where he's playing week in, week out, and he's tired. So I think it's a really difficult one now that England find themselves in, how serious they take the under-21. We've talked about it before, about how well the Germans have done in recent years because they've all grown up together. Personally speaking, I think it's a tournament. I think it's experience. For me, I would have taken Ross. I don't think Ross has had a fantastic year. I still think he's learning the game. And this is an ideal opportunity to learn a little bit more. And for me, I think he's missing out on that. I think he should have went for that one.
The criteria appear to be that if you were a regular member of the senior squad, you weren't picked. But as you've just said, he's not even a regular member of the Everton first team squad.
No, he's not. And it's
first team squad he is, but not.
Listen, Ross more than anybody else will be disappointed that he hasn't probably shot forward more than what he has done. You know, I think everybody last year were delighted to see him. Went to World Cup, we're thinking this is going to be a great season for him. It's fallen a little bit short. He hasn't been at his best this year for whatever reason. But I think the boy just wants to play. And I think he would have been looking forward to playing in an international tournament and try and get some run of form back so that he can then go into the new season on a high. But at the moment, you know, for me, he hasn't really performed. There's been little flashes of him during the season where you think, yeah, he's coming back. But I don't think he's had a long enough run in the team as well, because he's always changing the team. So Ross would benefit from me for playing the tournament in the summer.
But we run into the familiar scenario now of people talking about Ross Barkley, as they did about Jack Rodwell, going to be a great player. But how long can you keep on saying going to be, will fulfil potential?
Well, you've got to produce, as simple as that, week in, week out. If you become a good player, you've got to produce week in, week out. Ross, as I said, will be disappointed, but there's more to come. For me, I look up and he's still learning the game. Jack Rodwell was a different sort of player, but Jack made, for me, the wrong career move at the time, moving to Manchester City. And that's where young players now, we go back to Sterling's situation, he's got to be careful who his next club is going to be. But certainly from an Everton point of view, I would have liked to see Ross get game time, definitely game time in under-21s. But he's still learning the game, but he's still learning to play international football, and that would be an ideal situation for him in the summer.
As you said, I mean, he can't claim fatigue really, because
No.
he's not been overstretched, has he, this season?
No. I think that's managers, and I can understand why, if they don't want the players to go and they think, oh, he's had a long, hard season, but not in this case for me.
What do you think, David? Do you think he should have gone?
Definitely. I think, you know, as Graeme has pointed to, the other countries seem to pick their strongest players. They don't have this sort of defining you know, by age. They keep a group together. and it'll do the country no harm to actually to develop, you know, through these tournaments, because this is a major tournament. It'd be really exciting, and it could be actually the springboard for somebody like Ross Barkley. You could go on this, and it could actually really just sort of, you know, give him the boost, and he then comes back stronger for Everton next season after a short break. But unfortunately, he's not involved.
I mean, with under-21 tournaments are always very good, but usually ignored by most people. But this summer, because there's no major senior tournament, this is going to get massive audiences. Just people drip-feeding their addiction of football.
Well, I think this has happened over years and years. Stuart Pearce has complained about, Southgate's complaining about it as well. David just alluded to the fact that Germany, you know, have grown up together, and these teams have grown up together and become a strong national. I think it's just something in this country that we don't send the best players over to represent the country when they should do. You know, I'd rather Ross go away with England under 21s and play maybe 5-6 games if they get all the way through to the final and win it, rather than having a 20-minute run out against Ireland, you know. So I think that what's more beneficial to not only the player but to the team in general is surely getting experience into.
I think find this balance of, at the end of the day, you're able to represent the country. It is a major tournament, so all the interest is going to be there. So whoever's able to play in it should be going out and doing their duty, so to speak, you know, taking part in it, rather than trying to define them and try to gauge where they're at in their particular career. If you're old enough, then we send our strongest team, represent England, and you know, and hopefully we come back. Give everybody in the football world anyway a great lift if England could do well in that tournament.
It's a learning curve. We talk about, you know, Everton and the European campaign, how good it was for the players to get experience of playing. This would be great experience for Ross. Yeah, he's been to the World Cup, and but this, you know, he'll be playing every single game. You'd imagine him to play every single game in under 21s.
I think it's a mistake. The senior squad for the games against Republic of Ireland, Slovenia had few surprises apart from Jamie Vardy's in it. Now, you know, he runs around a lot. He's very keen. He's very willing. But does this say something about the level of international footballers these days? That I'm not knocking the kid. I mean, and Charlie Austin's in it as well.
Yeah, I think when you think to years gone by, the great players that actually didn't achieve international recognition, and now also we got
always the one we talk about.
We got this sort of tiny pool now of English players that we have to pick from, and it's probably harder to come out of the England squad now than to get in it. And the fact that he's got it's a great reward for his effort. But really, I mean, we should be looking a little bit.
He's going to get one cap, and that'll be it, isn't it?
Well, I think we talked about before. I think David Nugent was the same. I think he got one cap, and Vardy's done really well for Leicester. They've been down the relegation scrap. You don't really associate teams that have been in the relegation scrap to have international players, but all credit to him. He's come through from Fleetwood, I think, when they were in the conference and everything, and worked his way through. So the boy's worked extremely hard to get where he is. If you're asking me, do I think he's an international player? The answer would be no. But listen, well done to him. You know, well done to him. He's worked hard to get where he is. Who knows? He might go.
Leon Osman, really.
Yeah,
everybody was thrilled when he got called in. It was a reward for his career more than anything.
Exactly. And Vardy has done well, and fair play to him. But it just shows me that England aren't as well off with players as we probably think they are.
And that's why, you know, these tournaments, you know, have to have more influence in how we move forward. Because you know, I don't know, it's a strange one. We certainly do need to look at the system we employ.
Before that tournament starts, we will know who is in charge of FIFA for the next 5 years. Don't go put a bet on now. I mean, they're all dropping out now and slaughtering Sepp Blatter. I mean, Figo pulled out this week and launched a tirade against, called him dictator.
And listen, is it something we don't know?
No, but it's a real tragedy, isn't it?
It's
not right.
No, it's not right.
But the sad thing is there are people throughout the world, influential figures, saying this is wrong, but they can't do anything about it.
But I don't think you're hearing that so much from the lesser countries and continents, certainly from Europe, and the fact that Figo and Michael van Praag are, very much in Europe, where we feel that it's wrong. It's the smaller countries that back Blatter. They're the ones who are feeling the benefits of the donations and the money that they've been given to thingy the game, improve the game.
Yeah, for FIFA as well, to have somebody like Luis Figo on board, you think that would be a massive plus, wouldn't you? And the fact that he's come out and said what he has said, it's a dictatorship, we're wasting our time here, that's a worry. That is a worry, yeah.
I'm sure that when we reconvene next season, Blatter will still be at the helm. Sunderland saved their Premiership status this week by drawing at Arsenal 0-0, which leaves the final Premiership weekend with just one issue to sort out, really. It'll either be Hull City or Newcastle United, who plummet through the trapdoor, as the tabloid journalists would have a say. Who's going, David?
It's a toss of a coin for me. I think it's hard to say there'd be some goodwill from Manchester United to allow Hull to win because of the connections. But I don't know. Newcastle are that poor. I don't think anybody could expect them to get the win that they need. I think if they'd have put as much spirit into games like Sunderland did, then they would have been safe as houses. I think they've capitulated in games in recent weeks, and that's why they're in this situation. I mean, at Hull, at times I've actually battled, just didn't have enough quality, really. But I think all credit to Sunderland for absolutely, really battling away and getting the points that they deserve. It's clearly something that Newcastle haven't had, no real
They've
spirit.
picked up 1 point out of the last 30, Newcastle. And I think even their own, I've got a few mates who are Newcastle, even their own fans now are saying it might be better if we go down, if it prompts a change in ownership and direction.
I think they'll stay up. I think for me, Hull will go down. I can't see Hull beating Manchester United. West Ham, by all accounts, have been given the week off. So they've got the flip-flops on, so they go up to Newcastle. It might work in the reverse and they might be up for the game, but I think Hull, I can't see Hull getting anything against Manchester United. Newcastle, it's been a disgrace again up there for the fans. John Carver was appointed, right appointment, wrong appointment. If you're looking at results, you'd have to say the wrong appointment. But it's just gone downhill.
He's the best coach in the league,
Yeah, but it's just gone downhill since Pardew left. It has just plummeted. I don't know whether it's a lack of discipline or whatever, but it looks as if the players have just switched off and thought, that's it. We're cruising to the end of the season. And if you've got that mindset, there's only one way you're going to go, and it's going to go down.
I think that was said about them ages ago. They're safe, they've sorted on one thing or another, and they did take the foot off the gas, definitely. And obviously, with Carver coming in, I think there must have been a little bit of a relaxed sort of approach. Before you know where you are, you're spiralling out of control.
My view, for what it's worth, I think they'll both win tomorrow, or Sunday rather, and I think Newcastle will stay up. Okay, we'll be back after this short break when we'll be looking back at Everton's patchy season. That's about the best I can say about Everton's season, patchy. See you shortly. Hello and welcome back. Before we take Everton's season apart at the seams, you were at Upton Park last week. Good win, late but good.
Yeah, good win. I thought we played better on the day. And I think it was a good reaction from the players. Some good performances in there. Leon Osman was sensational. I thought he was outstanding, give us that little bit extra quality. And Lukaku, as he does, scores a goal against West Ham in the final minute. Interesting thing was their last home game of the season. You're expecting, the fans to stay behind and cheer them. And as soon as the final whistle went, they went. They're not happy. There was banners for Allardyce out. And so things aren't happy down at West Ham. But from Everton's point of view, it was good to finish the away campaign with a victory. I think to see the supporters who travelled down there in their numbers again, like maybe 3,000 down there, to see an away win and see a decent performance. For so many times this season it's been poor, away from home especially. And to win away from home at West Ham, which is never easy, was a good result.
The only disappointing aspect from my point of view was the Kenwright out banner. I mean, where are these people coming from? Be careful what you wish for and look around at other clubs before you scroll something on a piece of paper.
Well, I'd have to say again, it's a minority. It's not a majority, it's a minority. Listen, you can't please everybody, you know, and people will have, you know, their own opinions. But for me, no. I think the most important thing for Everton this year was to obviously try and follow up what we achieved last year in terms of 5th place position, was to keep in that group of the top 10. You know, you want to keep in that, and I think we may well get 10th spot. That's not great, don't get me wrong, I'm not accepting that, but it's important that we stay in that the higher echelons of the Premier League rather than drop down and be involved in nervously looking over our shoulders. We looked as if we were.
They were at one point.
So, no, I thought it was a good performance. Deserved, I would probably say so. I thought we controlled most of the game. So good, as I say, good to finish off with it. But the banner for Ken right out was, it was only a minority for me.
I mean, in relative terms, let's be honest, it's been a really poor season for Everton. As you say, they were very close last season to getting back into the top 4 for only the second time since the Premier League was formed. And this season's been a real anticlimax.
Well, it is, and, you know, this is the thing, do you blame the chairman for that? You know, everybody was singing the praises of the team last year and the manager and how good it was. Season, not really a lot's changed, but the chairman gets the blame for that, which is a little bit harsh. Yeah, a little bit harsh. But the team, they've underperformed. They haven't reached the heights that they reached last year, very similar to Liverpool. And it's, what is the reason? Second season syndrome, players not having a pre-season really together, you know, coming back late from the World Cup. You can pin it on anything, but I just think personally, I think we have not had maybe a plan B. I think maybe we've not had a plan B when things weren't going well for us.
Roberto Martinez took a lot of stick mid-season probably when for his inflexibility. Do you think he will have learned from this season and he'll carry that forward now?
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll learn, and I think the players have learned as well. And I think he'll look at and see, you know, where he has to improve the team next year. I think we've talked about it time and time again, the final third is where he has to improve the team. He's been looking at a so-called number 10. But like McGeady came on, who has been really disappointing this year through injury and lack of form, but he came on. Wouldn't say necessarily changed the game, but had a very big influence in the game when he came on, made the second goal for Lukaku. So there's areas where I think the manager knows that he needs to improve, and that's in the final third. So I think he'll work hard in the summer to try and bring other people in. Who leaves the club, we'll just have to wait and see. But I think there'll be changes, and I think we'll be better for this season next year.
As you say, it has been disappointing. Has there been any highs, any plus points really?
Yeah, probably. You're looking at, I think Jagielka has been outstanding. He won all the awards the other night at the event, end of season awards event, and Phil won most of them. His performances have been good. I think McCarthy's been decent. And then if you look at it from a goal scoring point of view, Lukaku has reached 20 goals again. Immaterial whether some come from penalties, it's 20 goals. It's, I think, what a striker sets out before the season. If I can get 20 plus, I've done reasonably well. So that's a bonus. Listen, he can play a lot better. Romelu Lukaku, he can improve. But again, to get his first full season as a contracted player with 20 goals, I think he'll be reasonably happy. So I think there's more to come from him.
I think most fans would say that looking forward to next season, it's imperative that they start well, which they didn't this season. Get a flying start, confidence, usual cliches.
Well, I think to get, you know, it's not only the team, but it's for the manager as well. You know, because if you get off to a slow,
be under pressure
exactly,
start well.
Because we talked about last year, and you know, we had 6 games, we kind of turned things around. It's important for the manager he starts well, and it's important for the team as well, and gets you up into the league table, and then your confidence builds. No European football this year. Well, I don't think so with the Fair Play League. I think every booking that was given last week was cheered by the West Ham fans because they knew they went to Europe in the Fair Play League. But no European football. I think it's just a case of concentrating on the league and hopefully a better run in the Cups.
Can you see many changes to the playing squad during the summer? Ins and outs? I mean, there will be players go. Distan, Alcaraz, etc. will go.
And Luke Garbutt's a question mark over him.
Yeah.
So I think there'll be 4 or 5 out, and maybe at least 4 or 5 in.
Any other big hitters going, do you think, or will they manage to hang on to them?
Talking about Stan, I don't see. I still think that for the players, the young players especially, I think the development should still be here, and by that I mean Stones, Coleman, McCarthy, Bartley. No, I'd be really surprised if any of those players left the football club in the summer. I think they're here for another few years and hopefully improve as a team will.
What's your view of Everton's season, David?
Yeah, it has been patchy. I think you have to get off to a good start. That's imperative for both our teams, Liverpool and Everton. I don't think you can afford to sort of just have excuses early on and just say, well, we're going to get better and we're going to get stronger. I don't think you afford to lose ground. And once you lose ground, then it's always very hard to catch up. It's not a given that you will ultimately get stronger. I think Everton and Liverpool both had their moments in the season. Certainly Everton finished pretty strongly, I think, and that's to their credit. But you know, it'll be disappointing that they could have quite easily achieved a much better season. It's down to the start. So
it may actually be in their favour that they keep the nucleus of the squad together. I sometimes look at clubs who change their personnel and it doesn't work. Players need time to settle in. Everton will have the same nucleus next season, and as David just said, we all know they can play better than they have done in the last 10 months.
Yeah, obviously there's a question mark over some players as well, but you know, and then there's a question over Aaron Lennon. You know, do we sign Aaron Lennon? But if you'd have seen McGeady's performance last week when he came on, you'd have thought, wow, this is something different. So they may not need to be the need to go after Aaron Lennon. But no, I think it's important that you start well. That's what I said before, that, you know, the pre-season stuttered along a little bit. You know, never really played top opposition, whereas a year before we played in America, Juventus and top opposition. So the pre-season needs to be better. We're going to Singapore, so the pre-season's already down, so that will benefit the team, and the players all been together as well. Last year from the World Cup, you were having players coming back in different times, and as a manager preparing for a new season, that's not good.
Yeah, I'd like to make special mention of Sylvain Distin because Sunday's game against Tottenham at Goodison will be his last game. Now, I think most Evertonians would love to see Distin on the bench and come on for the last 2 minutes, irrespective of what the score is, just to say thank you and goodbye. I'm not sure it will happen. I think his relationship with the manager seems to have collapsed.
Well, it'd be nice to see that happen because Sylvain has been a fantastic pro, been a great player for Everton in his time. It's coming to the end now. But I agree with you. I think it would be a touch and gesture. But in this day and age where managers are saying that points are really important, does he sacrifice that? It'll be an interesting one to see. But for me personally, I'll be sad to see him go because I think he's been different class for us.
You think he can still do a job somewhere in the Premier League?
I think he'll go, and I think he'll go, and I think he could well end up at Bournemouth.
I was going to say one of the promoted teams.
Bournemouth coming up, looking for a little bit of experience. I looked at their two centre backs when they were in the Championship last year. And yeah, they were good. You know, they're good Championship centre backs. But I think if you've got somebody of the experience of Sylvain Distin working alongside you and helping you, I think it'll be beneficial. So I can see Sylvain going to Bournemouth. Obviously, being at Portsmouth earlier on, so I can see Sylvain going to Bournemouth.
As we say, Spurs on the last day at home, not a lot riding on it, but it's quite an attractive fixture to finish with, isn't it?
Good game. They'll want to finish on a high. I say West Ham follow up the win against Went. If they could finish with 6 out of 6, the manager would be absolutely delighted. And then everybody goes home happy in the summer and looks forward to the new season. It's always nice to finish with a win. You know, if you don't, you feel a bit deflated.
Liverpool found out.
Yeah, it is. You feel deflated.
It was totally deflating. Yeah, exactly. And obviously they got Stoke this weekend. So I mean, it's a tough end to Liverpool's season. You want to finish on a high. You want to finish on a high, of course.
Yeah, Stoke's a difficult one to go to. The last game of the season, it's not the most appealing place to go any time. But the last game of the season, what sort of game it'll be? No doubt it'll be windy. But for Everton, you know, it's important that they sign off at home in front of the supporters. It'll be a full house. Hopefully with 3 points against Tottenham. And
Liverpool can't escape the Europa League now, can they? They're doomed.
Well, they might just if it depends on.
Throw it away.
They could blow it. I suppose they
lose 9-0 or something.
Yeah, but not I mean, is it something to look forward to? I think it's a good thing if you're if you're involved in Europe. I don't think it should be used as an excuse for underperformance in the league. Granted, it does play havoc with your schedule in the season with the Thursday Sunday effect. But you know, why it should be a problematic to a strong club like Liverpool, you know, remains to be seen. It's definitely a benefit to be in.
Okay, we'll be back for the final part shortly when we'll be dissecting Liverpool's largely troubled season. See you shortly. Hello, welcome back to the final part of this programme and the final part for the whole season, in fact. Thank you to those of you who've made contact with us over the last 6 months or so. You can do so by emailing in at footballfriday@baytvliverpool.com. Please do so throughout the summer, and we'll perhaps give you a name check when we resume in August. David Fairclough, not a great season for your beloved Liverpool.
No, disappointing. You have to say it. I think the aim of all seasons is to improve on the one before, and Liverpool clearly
Short there,
yeah, clearly underperformed. I think in recent times when Liverpool have had two good you know, excellent seasons. There was one under Houllier. They failed to build properly, and again last season, you know, Liverpool, great springboard, finishing second. Okay, they surprised a few, but you know, didn't actually sort of go on, did we? You kind of accepted the fact that that was maybe a one-off, and you know, and we fell back a little bit. I think if you finish second, then I think you really should be buzzing and thinking, you know, who knows? You know, I mean, okay, it might have been a big ask, but certainly, I think the attitude, there seemed to be a little bit of an acceptance that was a one-off season. I think.
What do you put it down to? Is it the players, the management?
I think you can make a lot of you can feel sorry for yourself a little bit, and I think there's been a bit of that. You know, the fact that Suarez went, Sturridge was out with injury, but I don't think you can afford to harp on that. I mean, at the end of the day, the job is to build a squad, have the squad there to sort of cope with all that might befall you over a season. Okay, it can be tough. But certainly, Liverpool weren't equipped as well as they should have been, I think, to really mount the challenge. They left themselves frightfully short in terms of a striker. You know, that has been the main problem. Liverpool clearly haven't scored enough goals.
Which areas have they let themselves down in on the pitch? I mean,
well, I think they've let themselves down in sort of in number of ways. Clearly, the year before, Liverpool had an awful lot of goal-scoring power, and that got them out of jail on a number of occasions. You know, Liverpool regularly gave away 2 and 3 goals, but we're winning games 5-2, 4-3, all those type of things, which is fantastic. But still in all, the defence gave goals away this year, and you could turn around and say, well, if we'd have had an attacking force, that wouldn't have been a problem. But still in all, I think the defence was weak early on, and we were losing games that we shouldn't have done. And as I mentioned before, I think it's important to get off to a good start, and I think there seemed to be that sort of thing. Well, don't worry, it'll all sort of come good eventually. But you know, I don't think you can afford to make up, you know, to think that you're going to make up that ground.
I mean, the blow of losing Suarez would have been cushioned to a degree had Sturridge performed this season. But not only has he not performed that well, he hasn't played that much because of injury.
No, that was a loss, but. Again, then you look to the squad and the people that were there. Lambert was brought in. We had Barini, whether or not he was the, you know, everybody's sort of answer or an option. But still, in all, they didn't get chances. They didn't really get chances. I think Liverpool's, you know, sort of stumbled on with, you know, this strange tactic of using Sterling as the main strike threat, and sort of, you know, juggling with Lallana, Coutinho, Henderson and all that, and looking for permutations in the midfield to support a Sterling who, I mean, really, we should have tried to play a recognised forward a little bit more, gave those lads an opportunity, I think.
You've got Balotelli, but he's been a complete disaster, hasn't he? Absolute disaster.
The gamble didn't work, but definitely, and, you know, for whatever reason, however it was thought that Balotelli was going to be an option. Yeah, it was a bad decision. the guy is unmanageable. I mean, Mourinho has said that, but I think we've seen from our experiences this year that he's just a law unto himself. He's got ability and he can deliver quality from time to time. Doesn't do enough of it. He doesn't approach games with an attitude that inspires you and thinks, well, he's worth sticking at. On occasions, he's done some good things. He made a little bit of an impact in the semi-final game at Wembley, and you thought to yourself, well, okay, you do deserve a run, you know, and he played the next game, but he then didn't deliver. He just, you know, he's a law unto himself.
Yeah, he's making more impact off the field than he is on the field. You read more about him off the field than you do on the field, which is a shame, because I thought at the time, yeah, it's not bad. He could just come good for Liverpool, but as David says, I think when you lose Suarez, and you know, as he said, he could turn the game like that. He could be under the caution and he would score from 30 yards or whatever. That was a massive loss. And I just think the quality of the signings that, you know, he used the money from Suarez to bring in have taken time to settle down. Whether they're going to be the answer long term remains to be seen. But I think when you bring in a lot of players or new players in, it does take them time to settle. So I think this season will be important.
It was a difficult year for a lot of players to come in because the expectancy was high. But it's very difficult, I think, to bring so many young players and think that that's actually going to sort of galvanise, you know, the team. I think you had to bring in some experience somewhere along the line. Maybe a little bit unfortunate that Lallana got the injuries in the pre-season and he wasn't able to make a real impact, you know, and his season was sort of stop-start. It'll be a big season for him next year. He'll be an important member of the group next year, I think.
I mean, we don't know who will be in charge at Liverpool next year, but if we work on the basis it's Brendan Rodgers, he's going to have a very busy summer, isn't he? Because he's going to ship out presumably Barini, Lambert, Balotelli, which means he's going to have to strengthen the forward department straight away.
Yeah, I mean, they've been strongly linked with Ings for quite a while, and you will suspect the fact that has been so strong. You know, it will happen. It'll be an interesting option to bring in. Liverpool have to bring somebody in now that is going to sort of create a bit of a buzz and lift the spirits a little bit, because you sense there's a little bit of flatness about Liverpool's prospects. You know, Stevie going, we're all still feeling the effects of that. Season hasn't finished quite, but we're still a little bit flat about the prospects for next season. So it is going to be a big year, and FSG and Brendan, I think, really have to give the fans something to sort of look forward to.
A lot of the Liverpool fans who I know are almost quite fearful for next season, Graeme. As you say, the expectancy level this season was very high after finishing second, and they should have probably won it last season. But I think that they're almost going into the unknown here.
Well, they are. I think what David just said about the boy Ings, you know, if you're a Liverpool fan, you're thinking...
You're thinking, would Chelsea and Man City buy it?
Is Ings the sort of player for us? You know, we've had Suarez, and, you know, Sturridge is obviously, if he comes back from his injury, but you're looking at Danny Ings to maybe push you into that top four. Is he going to... Listen, if he comes, he might well be. It might be the perfect match. But I think if I was a Liverpool supporter, I'd probably expect a bigger name to come in there if we're going to try and get us into the top four and challenge for the league. So, Welsh, listen, the boy's a good player, but he's been involved in a team it's gone down. So it's not really the name or the player that would whet the appetite.
No, and that's right. I mean, really, Liverpool have to sell the vision, the story to somebody. They missed out on Depay, you know. Now, whatever you believe or you hear, I reckon Liverpool went after Depay, and he would have been a player that people would have really looked forward to seeing. So they've got to go and get somebody who has some sort of reputation and sees the vision ahead. It mightn't be the easiest of years next year, but certainly they've got to sell a good story.
Okay, as we've said before, we always invite questions. We've got some questions here, not all strictly about football. These are from Heather in Formby. Hello, Heather. First one, do you believe that man landed on the moon? Quickly, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Oh.
I mean, now this is back to the 70s, Shoot magazine. Favourite food and drink?
I think mine was steak and
So
lager.
Steak and lager.
Yeah.
Phil Collins and Dire Straits. Yeah.
Well, it was definitely steak. Yeah. I don't think I mentioned lager in those days that much, but these days I'm a little bit more of a sort of Italian foods of all the time.
That's because you live in Formby.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we get a lot of fresh fish up there, and Italian.
Madonna or Adele?
Madonna.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Go on, David.
Yeah, I think I'm a Madonna man.
You two are older than I thought you were. Favourite away ground when you were playing?
For me, Old Trafford or Wembley. Old Trafford, with it being in the league.
Yeah, I'd probably say Main Road.
I used to love Main Road.
I used to enjoy Main Road. Yeah.
Any ground where you got particular flack? Was there any ground that you hated going to?
Millwall,
Apart from Anfield.
Millwall, dear me, that was an experience. They'd just been promoted, that was an experience. Didn't do very well at Highbury. Never used to have a good game at Highbury, mate. Just wasn't for me, it's too tight.
Bay TV or Sky TV? Come on, you no hesitation.
Bay TV.
Thank you.
Bay TV, yeah.
Ian Ross or Michael Parkinson?
Jennifer Joe.
You stole my answer.
Okay. And on that bombshell, as Alan Partridge would say, we've had a great time bringing this show to you over the last 6 months. We hope you've enjoyed it. And we hope you'll join us next season when we start a new series. All I can say is thanks to Graeme and David for their support. Thanks to everybody here, and have a really great summer, and we'll see you in August. Take care.